Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today we have a special video. It's a new person in this channel. It's called Professor Lando. Alright. So the video is called Rule 34 Explained. So this is gonna be different nonetheless. So let's get started.
What is Rule 34? Like, what is that? And even if you are familiar, have you ever stopped to think, like, why do we call it that? What is the rule? You know, Rule 34, the actual rule is that if it exists, there is explicit art of it. You can fill in the holes
Basically.
yourself. If it is in existence, if it is a thing, there is explicit work of it. You might be doubting it. You might be doubting, like, if it exists, that means anything and everything, correct? Yes. What are the origins? From Wikipedia, Rule 34 originated from a 2003 webcomic captioned Rule number 34. There is explicit work of it, no exceptions, which was drawn by Peter Morley Soter. So this is him.
Wow.
Quick shorthand version. The webcomic was a single panel comic by Peter
Nah, Faint's a little bit more fed than that, buddy. I'll be honest with you.
Morley Soter, and it was, the caption.
Probably his fingers think of Cheetos and shit. You feel me? Probably got like big ass glasses and all that stuff. And that nigga probably smells too. Ain't gonna lie to you.
Was, Rule 34. There is explicit.
He does this and goes back to the keyboards. Disgusting.
Work of it, no exceptions. And he made this comic to depict his shock at seeing Rule 34 of Calvin and Hobbes. He drew this to show his shock. We say Rule 34. It implies the existence of a greater range of rules, at least 34 of them, perhaps more, but at least 34. You would surmise that there are more rules.
Oh, okay, so it's not less than 34.
Rules
Gotcha.
of the internet. Another popular example is Rule 63, which states that for every male character, there is a female version of that character and vice versa. For example, there's a male version of Naruto, and Rule 63
it just swaps the
that
genders.
for every male character, there's a female version and vice versa.
Okay.
Professor Nux, thank you so much for coming to class today to give some
bruh.
insight on this important topic. Do you want to introduce yourself to the students here really quick?
Oh, hello students.
Just in case if y'all don't know who this nigga is, bro, he is horny. He's horny. Like that's the best description of it.
I'm Professor Nux, good friend of Professor Lando's. We've studied together. We've troubled we've overcome the trials.
Those were the days, remember? Back in
Through
the
much
days.
experimentation.
I'm still
most
sore.
of it legal. It was we came out to some truly wonderful discoveries in the academia world,
As you know, today we're talking about Rule 34, and you and I, we're cultured men. Not only are we intellectual, but just because you're an intellectual doesn't necessarily mean you are a man of culture.
Okay.
But you definitely are. I can tell. I know. Over the
appreciate
years,
that,
I see that glimmer in your eyes.
I don't know. I got real good Sigma vibes the second I found you on YouTube.
Sigma
the first
vibes.
time. I consider myself one of the first people that discovered you.
Yes.
Back when you were a rare gem.
Right. When I was half-eaten McDonald's in the garbage like a raccoon.
What?
Nux was like, hey,
I wasn't going to say it, but
yes. What do you think the appeal of Rule 34 is? There's so much explicit adult content, even before Rule 34, and even still, we're venturing into all these platforms, right? All these platforms and new territory, but still, Rule 34 keeps a iron grip on the culture. Why do you think people like Rule 34 so much? What's the appeal?
Professor, I'm glad you've asked this question. I would say that much like how only a small sliver of the percentage of insect species were discovered in the world, I would go as far as to say that only a small sliver of Rule 34 porn has yet to be revealed as well.
Right. It's like the Amazon rainforest. Right?
Absolutely.
What?
We are just at the precipice of a utopia of World 34. I really think it's important for the public to understand much more about Rule 34. Like, I'm still pretty sure that people are unaware that Rule 34 is because 3 plus 4 is 7, and the 7th commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery, showing you how basically we're throwing away three-dimensional people and just completely throwing ourselves into the internet.
I wanted to ask you, what is the boundary between joke and an actual desire, actual searching Rule 34 to meet an end? A lot of people maybe think Lilo and Stitch, Rule 34, ha ha. Other people might be like, I'm about to have a fun night. But what do you think about that boundary between joke and actuality?
Wonderful conundrum you just asked, Professor, because I think that, again, much like, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, Rule 34 is either a fetish or a meme, depending on the conscious observing mind.
There's always a Rule 34 that holds a special place in each individual's heart.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to ask, what is your first exposure to Rule 34? Or if you can't remember, maybe the most memorable.
I ventured and studied so much Rule 34 over my time just preparing the tournaments. I've hosted 4 Rule 34
tournaments.
I've delved so deep, I don't even know where the surface lies at this point.
Got a technical background? Looking to go remote and get paid more? Become a software.
But you have to realize Rule 34 is part of the rule sets to the internet. If it exists, there's porn of it. That's one of the rules of the internet. So it's supposed to be a meme. It was created as a meme, talking about how there's just so much porn on the internet, and then it became a hub of sorts for people to find and explore and experience in their own way.
Bro, why you sound so passionate about
to answer your
saying
question, Raven
this?
from Teen Titans. God bless.
See, and this is why Professor Nux and I
have
come to agree on many intellectual fronts. Zone, are you familiar with this?
Oh, of course I'm familiar with Zone.
For me,
the fuck is Zone?
Zone created. Okay, hold on.
Zone did many things in the world of the entire academic side of Rule 34. Because are you familiar with string theory, Professor?
I've dabbled.
No, how it proposes that the fundamental constituents of the universe are one-dimensional strings as opposed to like particles.
Right.
So I view the verse of Rule 34, which has become like its own interesting meta society
he can
online,
draw though,
as a string theory understanding of porn in general. Normally, people view different fetishes as different niches. Some people are intrigued and interested in different areas. Some people like hentai, some people like 3D stuff. I wouldn't understand them, but you know what I'm saying. But when Zone and Rule 34 came to the board, it proposes the idea that no, we are looking at all as strings. What we perceive as particles are merely vibrations in the loops of string, which is Rule 34.
My first exposure was Zone Sama, artist animator, that gained popularity by creating these animations. Whether it's Teen Titans or Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Zone focused, I think it's fair to say, primarily on Western.
Indeed.
Oh, okay.
Western media.
So Zone is basically Rule 34,
I wanted to ask you about. It does seem that Rule 34 is a Western thing, because what is different between Rule 34 and just hentai?
I am glad you asked. Rule 34, again, the reason why it is so powerful, and I believe the Planck's constant holds true, is because Rule 34, to its core, started off as a meme. So you got people fapping to actual Teen Titans. Why not actually make porn of it?
Right.
And I do believe that is where it all came
What?
from. And since it stemmed from this meme, it's all based on actual things that people have been fapping to. It's just, let's explicify it. Whereas hentai is its own original creation, and it's beautiful in its own way, like the way Dropout discusses capitalism gone too far, and so many more intellectual pursuits in the worlds of hentai. And
also, hentai is like original.
That meme component
like
that it's all
not,
based on the
it's
twisted fetishes of man.
It's sort of a a taboo type feeling. Like maybe you could even say intention. Hentai, dojinshi, right? Dojinshi.
Yes, yes.
If you're
I'm
unfamiliar, you know, hentai is just anime or manga, adult explicit work. More specifically, dojinshi is a Japanese term for self-published printed works. It's just magazines, manga, novels. Could be safer work.
Oh, so it's
At
the
its core, you
same
could
thing for
say,
the
you know, if you
comics.
read
I mean,
a dojinshi
mangas.
of you know, some Naruto, it does
I mean,
seem Rule
technically,
34.
I guess they are parody.
Right, right. But I think Rule 34 is like is more directly sort of a parodic type of thing as opposed to hentai.
Yo, what? Did you just invent the word parodic, like parody?
No,
erotic?
no, it's like
erotic
you know,
parody
it's
is parodic.
I don't, you know, come on,
Erotic
you know,
parody.
parodic. Tell me your thoughts on this. I'm going to present a theory, perhaps a law, Professor Lando's law of Rule 34 and hentai. All hentai Rule 34, but not all Rule 34 is hentai.
I would not say that all hentai is Rule 34 because Rule 34 is inherently. So maybe
there's
you're right.
origin-
I didn't ponder it from this perspective.
well, okay,
Didn't
actually you're right. 'Cause
ponder it from
there are
this
original
perspective.
hentai works.
Yeah,
But
but then again,
yeah.
that's what I was saying at first. Originally, I was saying no. I wouldn't say so because there are hentai that are original works. But then again, the constant of Rule 34 that we should be like plugging into
gosh.
every equation is if it exists, there is porn of it. And if it itself is porn, then it exists and there is porn of it.
It is Rule 34 of itself. Original hentai
Exactly.
becomes Rule 34 of itself.
Yo, I am literally mind-gasming right now.
Wow.
My gas.
Move over, Oppenheimer. We got some new mind
man.
bombs here. I'll probably cut that.
Oh
I
my God.
think I'll cut that
That's-
one. Talking about the spirit of Rule 34. It's like fantastic
He keeps it.
to take stuff, you know,
Yes.
rooted in reality, the original source material, for example, and being able to throw your own imagination into it. That has to be the main appeal of Rule 34. Because again, we said in the beginning, you know, someone might say, "Dang nabbit, why would you watch some Teen Titans, Chinese cartoons,
Yes, why would you do
porn
that?
when I can go over to the hub any other day?" It's because they don't quite understand that. Part of it is the taboo. I think we talked recently about how back in the old days it was all about the ankle.
True, we did mention that before. That's true.
Because
Yes.
the ankle was historically covered up. Why do people like feet? Well, I think it has
Yes.
to do with it's a
What?
taboo. Not so much a taboo, but you know your feet are usually covered,
So this nigga likes
right?
feet.
Same thing with the ankles. But as time went on and ankles became more shown, it became less of a fetish. If throughout human history sandals were more common than shoes, maybe there would be less foot fetishists.
That is true. So what you're saying is, if there was more boobs in Teen Titans, there would be less porn.
Yeah, that's a very important point.
If there's
it's like if
no, if there's boobs in Teen Titans, then that is porn. Like, what?
for example, if Starfire and Raven were constantly shown in like very skimpy and also very sexual scenarios, let's say, I would say that the Rule 34 fervor for them would be not as much. Same thing with Frankie from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Bro.
If in the source material, if Frankie was just a big slut, I would surmise to say you'd be less interested in the Rule 34. But it's because of the taboo, not necessarily taboo, but the dichotomy of its innocence drives
No, I understand what you're saying.
more.
I completely understand. There's this awkward balance, this vector, I'd even go as far as to say.
Okay.
Where on one side of the
This
scale,
vector.
if they're not sexualized at all, then there isn't going to be that much Rule 34 of them. And if they're over-sexualized, well, then there's no need for Rule 34 of them. It really needs to hit that sweet spot,
That sweet, that perhaps you say
that matrix,
That
right,
G-spot.
right at the core.
of Rule 34.
That G spot.
Yes. Do you have any closing remarks for the students here?
Drop a follow, subscribe, leave a like. Everyone support
There it
Prophecy.
is.
What an absolute legend.
Bro.
There it is.
Beautiful man.
What is wrong with this niggas, bro? Oh, explaining why Pokemon cards are so expensive. Well, that was a good video. I gotta see the comments, bro. What the fuck? I must clarify that my point about the webcomic was that it is popularized the term, not create the rule. Thanks for watching. I'm really glad Khan Academy is teaching us on a wider range of subjects now. You can feel the holes yourself. This is exactly what people hype, bro. Oh my gosh. What is wrong with people, bro?